please stand for the invocation which will be given by Najib Ahmed. Najib is a member of the National Honor Society and the National Beta Society. He has been on the honor roll for 3 years and is a Kansas Honor Scholar. He has been a drum major for the Shawnee Mission East Marching Band for 2 years. Najib has received an Air Force ROTC scholarship and will attend the University of Michigan, where he will pursue a degree in aeronautical aerospace engineering.
On behalf of the class of 1987, good evening and welcome. Tonight, we celebrate our arrival at one of life's great milestones. Tonight, we are graduates. As graduates, the future holds many paths and opportunities for each of us to choose from. Yet before we can effectively look forward, we must reflectively look back. Those of you who have taught us about life, our parents, peers, teachers, and heavenly divinities, tonight is a celebration of your endurance and love as well as ours. To all of our mentors, we thank you. Your strength and wisdom has helped us conquer physical and emotional barriers. You have helped fortify our spirits in a material world. Your protection and courage has allowed each of us to learn in many and different ways. But most importantly, your love has helped us grow. Tonight, at the beginning of our commencement, we humbly offer you a gift, a retribution for your undying love and support in the years past. This evening, we present you with the class of 1987. On this sacred hour, we ask you, our mentors, to join us in the future. We ask you for your continued strength and support as we leave your embrace and enter the world. For tonight, our dreams become reality. Thank you, and welcome to the future.
Please be seated. We are proud to welcome you to the 29th commencement ceremony for Shawnee Mission East High School. Our purpose this evening is to recognize and honor each member of the class of 1987. This evening, we will hear from 2 members of the senior class. Speaking will be Miss Christy Patterson and Mr. Corey Ireland. Our first speaker will be Christy Patterson. During her 3 years at Shawnee Mission East, Christy has involved herself in a variety of activities. She is a member of Beta Society, National Honor Society, National French Honor Society, and Quill and Scroll. She is also a designated State of Kansas Scholar and has received both her first and second year scholarship pins. Christy was also the statistician for the boys' varsity and JV basketball teams. Most actively, she pursued her theatrical interest. She serves as first vice president of Thespians and has appeared in The Crucible, Carousel, The Good Doctor, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and The Miracle Worker. Christy plans to attend Southwest Missouri State University this fall. Miss Christy Patterson.
Senior year is supposed to be the year of dreams come true, but for many it is also a year of shocking realizations. The fears that lingered in the backs of our minds seemed to develop more and more as commencement approached. Which college to attend, whether to even attend college, what we wanted to do for the rest of our lives and make for ourselves, what would happen to the close-knit friendships we had built, and generally, to the security which has surrounded us since birth. For the first time, we now have the choice to leave home and to experience true independence. After tonight, we control our own destinies. We decide for ourselves what is best for us. whatever we choose to become does not matter as long as we do our best to succeed, no matter how big or small our goals. Success lies in the mind of the pursuer. If we feel we will be successful, we will be. James William Fulbright once said, "We must dare to think unthinkable thoughts. We must learn to explore all the options and possibilities that confront us in a complex and rapidly changing world. We must learn to welcome and not to fear the voices of dissent. We must dare to think about unthinkable things, because when things become unthinkable, thinking stops and action becomes mindless." Tonight, no one can dissuade us from our aspirations, no matter how fruitless they may seem tomorrow. For tonight is the culmination of 3 very short years of discovering who we are, what we want, and that the world is ours to conquer. Not that success will immediately find its way to us and we will live happily ever after. Unfortunately, life in the real world is a struggle in which survival is a challenge at times and not always the utopia we imagine it to be. It will not be an easy transition, but our class has experienced enough of reality to truly succeed in whatever we decide to do after graduation. Our senior year has not been filled solely with fun, personal triumphs, and counting down the days until we got out of school. The laughter was balanced by tears. In addition to the great joy we felt at times was great pain. I don't think one of us escaped untouched from the tragic losses that have happened this year, our perfect year. We lost our classmate, Lisa Schultz, who would have graduated with us tonight. We lost the guidance and instruction of Everett Reese. We lost friends from the class of 1986, David Bernard and Tim Wyatt. We have lost other friends, and some have lost parents. Yet we were strong enough to overcome the loss of the other. Yet we were strong enough to overcome the grief we felt and to go on with life as usual. Not one of us felt compelled to take our own lives to compensate for the loss of the others, as if subconsciously we knew that it could not help ease the pain and would instead only create more. The tragedies that have occurred this year have made us stronger people. George Eliot phrased it quite well. Deep, unspeakable suffering may well be called a baptism, a regeneration, the initiation into a new state. We have been initiated into adulthood by what we have endured this year. Another result of our grief was that it brought us closer together. When we entered East 3 years ago, we were not unified. It took time to establish trust, to work together on prom and to make it successful, and to create the bonds that cement us now into a true class. It took much cooperation on the part of everyone to transform us from merely an assembled group of individuals as sophomores into a senior class that will always remember the struggles and achievements of this past year. We have gained insight into ourselves and into the future through our experiences this year, both good and bad. And through our unification, we have been able to share what we have learned with each other and thus strengthened every link in the chain. No one can break us apart if we retain these bonds. Not in the clamor of the crowded street, not in the shouts and plaudits of the throng, but in ourselves, our triumph and defeat, wrote Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. We decide what to make of our experiences. We decide whether to be defeated by a cruel twist of fate or to challenge it. We have suffered many losses this year, but we also survived. We survived the SATs, ACTs, and achievements. We survived our bouts with the working world and the promotions and demotions that accompany it. We survived the stress of college interviews, essays, rejections, and acceptances. Our athletes survived their personal disappointments and losses and triumphs in winning. We survived the transition to a 4-year high school and a change in administration. And most importantly, we survived each other and ourselves. We did not let our fears control us. Instead, we controlled them and survived. B.F. Skinner once said, We do not choose survival as a value. It chooses us. Each one of us here tonight has been chosen, for we are a class of survivors. Though we have been through a difficult year, we are better people for it, and we will continue surviving through whatever we face because we are the Shawnee Mission East class of 1987.
Our second speaker is Corey Ireland. In his 3 years at East, Corey has participated in music, drama, soccer, debate, forensics, and student government. Corey has been active in leadership as president of both the National Forensics League and Chamber Singers, as well as senior achievements to his credit include the Williams Book Award, National Merit Letter of Commendation, the Crowell Book Award, Best Leading Actor for his performance in The Music Man, placing 13th in the nation in the Lincoln Douglas debate, and most recently being selected for USA Today's All-American Academic Team as being one of the top 40 students in the nation in overall high school accomplishment. Corey will attend Williams College. Mr. Corey Ireland.
The poet James Baldwin proclaimed, "The future is a lot like heaven. Everyone exalts and praises it, but nobody wants to go there right now. We will always cherish the relationships and memories we have made, but we must realize that there is much more to come. And with this sentiment in mind, I ask you to join me in looking to the future. Graduation marks a major step in our mental and emotional progress to adulthood. Tonight, we look to the future with mixed emotions, full of excitement, curiosity, anticipation, ambivalence, even dread. We have reached a plateau and now take the opportunity to enjoy the view from this newfound perspective. Our ambitions, goals, and dreams are now becoming clearly visible on the horizon of the future. But we must be careful. It is too easy when confronted with the view of the enormity of life outside of high school to begin to doubt ourselves and our dreams. It seems safer to expect little or nothing of ourselves and be unsatisfied with our lives than to pursue our most ambitious dreams and risk devastating failure. To settle for that comfortable desk job in father's firm instead of pursuing the dream of becoming poet laureate and risk discovering we have neither the rhyme nor reason. However, only by risking failure can we ever succeed. Only by acknowledging and confronting our fears can we ever achieve satisfaction. W.B. Yeats once said, "In dreams begins responsibility. This responsibility rests primarily on self-reliance. Trust thyself," Emerson said. Every heart vibrates to that inner string. Thus we are challenged to have faith in our dreams, to pursue them to their fruition. For today we are living in an age of infinite possibilities. Literally, our possibilities are limited only by our own creativity. This is aptly noted in the profound words of the English philosopher Alfred North Whitehead, who said, "Our minds are finite, but even in these circumstances of finitude, we are surrounded by possibilities that are infinite, and the purpose of human life is to grasp as much as we can out of that infinitude. Though our possibilities are limitless, we are tempted to ignore their enormous potential and satiate ourselves instead with material comforts. This contemporary definition of success, as measured in material terms, has become a dangerous trap to seek things rather than to seek excellence. Those people we call successful are not the devoted men of integrity, but rather those who have mastered the art of manipulation and exploitation in order to achieve material comfort. Too often, our leaders and heroes are not individuals of romantic virtue, but rather those with power, money, prestige, and glamour, regardless of the means necessary to achieve these ends. This warped concept of success prompted Albert Einstein to urge, "Try not to become a man of success, but rather to become a man of value." Though these sentiments are not new, we are now beginning to see the consequences of our ways, namely, our values. The underlying sentiment of the modern concept of success is selfishness. Whether we pursue money, power, glamour, or even happiness, we do so for ourselves. We uphold the doctrine of the imperial self. Always look out for number one. The result is the devastating loss of the satisfaction of true success. For success is not in the compensation, but rather in the achievement, the creation, the effort itself. When the motive for college and career is material success, we lose the satisfaction of real success, of real achievement. I submit that regardless of income and social status, the only way to be satisfied in your life is to be doing what you love. And today, sadly, we see very little of this passion in work. We seem to believe that work is a burden for material reward, rather than work being the reward in itself. As a result, we, as a society, sacrifice excellence for expediency, craftsmanship for economy. Like T.S. Eliot's Hollow Men, we find ourselves trapped in the shadow of the artificial satisfaction of our material lives, unable to attain the true satisfaction of achievement. We all know people who've pursued material success only to find that this in itself is not satisfying. This is not to say that material comfort in itself is an evil, rather that it should be a benefit and not an objective. David Frost summarized this sentiment perfectly in saying, "Success is a trendy word. Don't aim for success if you want it. Just do what you love, and it will come naturally." So in these next months and years, when faced with the choice of direction in your life, think not of what will make the most money, but rather what will make you the most happy. Now, unfortunately, as I look to the future, I see that these words in themselves will change nothing. This speech cannot conclude with the realization of eternal social virtue, but your response to my words can mean something. Never underestimate the value of one sincere belief, for there is no force in this world more powerful than the truth. Whether that is the truth of justice, the truth of virtue, the truth of God, or the truth of love, there is no greater power. And in the end, that power must prevail. Thank you.
The class of 1987 has distinguished itself in many ways. Its members include 33 students who were National Merit Commended students and 7 who were National Merit finalists. 1 is a semifinalist for recognition as a Presidential Scholar. 139 have received the Presidential Academic Fitness Award. 70 have been designated State of Kansas Scholars. Approximately $700,000 was offered to the class of 1987 in scholarships and awards. Recent reports indicate 323 students will attend college this fall. 7 will travel abroad. 3 will join the military, while 7 will enter the job market. 44 students have distinguished themselves by receiving a third-year scholarship pin. A student must have previously qualified for both a first and a second-year scholarship pin. In addition, during the senior year, a student must have earned 5 semester grades of A with no grade lower than a B. Presenting the third-year scholarship pins this evening will be Dr. David Sturrett, Associate Superintendent of Schools for Secondary Education. Assisting Dr. Sturrett will be Dr. Corky Jacobs, Associate Principal for Curriculum and Instruction, and Dr. Sheila Sigmund, Associate Principal for Student Management and Activities. I will read the names in reverse alphabetical order. As your name is read, will you please come forward and approach the stage from your right. We ask that you remain on stage until all awards have been presented. Gregory Wempe, Maria Vibert, Jessica Ullman, Jennifer Stobie, Stephanie Snyder, Leonard Singer Jr., Laura Rosen, Michael Roselle, Mary Robertson, Carrie Robertson, Diane Roberts, Julie Reimer, Lori Preboth, Kristen Patterson, Peggy Pankrantz, Angela Pye, Diana Ott, Steve Neptune, Kelly McClanahan, Stephen Mayer, Julia Langworthy, Jenny Kim, James Cap III, Elizabeth Jennings, Derek Heil, Robert Harsh Jr., Susan Herron, James Hanson, Ann Hall, Mark French, John Fletcher, Courtney Fikes, Wendy Feng, Mark Erickson, Catherine Driscoll, Blaine Degnan, Constance DeFonso, Joyce Campbell, Brian Kane, Carolyn Brown, Laura Brenneman, Sherry Bennett, Najib Ahmed, and Matthew Acuff.
I have to bring in a form tomorrow to do some testing, like final form. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, it's like a special. All right. Okay, I will. There we go. All right. Okay. Good. I already have it. Okay.
Ladies, once again, join me in recognizing these winners of the third year scholarship pin. In addition to the presentation of the third year scholarship pins, special honor cards are presented to the 10 members of the graduating class who have maintained the highest scholastic average during their 3 years at Shawnee Mission East High School. Presenting the honor cards will be Dr. David Sturrett. Assisting Dr. Sturrett will be Dr. Art Newcomer, Associate Principal for Athletics and Performing Arts. It should be noted that the presentations will be made in alphabetical order and not in order of class rank. As I read your name, will you please step forward to receive your honor cord? I would ask that applause be held until all 10 have been recognized. Mark Erickson, Wendy Feng, Mark French, Ann Hall, Jenny Kim, Julia Langworthy, Kelly McClanahan, Steve Neptune, Jennifer Stobie, and Jessica Allman. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the top 10 students at Shawnee Mission East High School. Thank you very much. You take your seats. Students, thank you very much. You can be seated. The presentation of the class of 1987 will be made by Dr. David Sturrett. Other special guests on the platform this evening are Dr. Don Wilson, Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and Dr. Gene Church, Associate Superintendent for Elementary Education. Presentation of the diplomas will be made by Mrs. Barbara McConaughey and Mrs. Ruth Raudebush, members of the Board of Education. Reading the names will be Mr. John Nichols, Mrs. Judy Barnes, and Mr. Nick Paris. In order that our goal of recognizing each student can be reached, we do ask your consideration and cooperation in refraining from the use of noisemakers or other distractions during the reading of the names. Dr. Sturrock.
It is my pleasure to certify that this group of students has completed the course of studies as prescribed by the Kansas State Department of Education and the Shawnee Mission Board of Education. It is therefore the recommendation of the staff and administration of Shawnee Mission East High School that they be awarded their diplomas.
On behalf of Shawnee Mission Board of Education, I accept the recommendation of the staff and administration of Shawnee Mission East High School and ask the members of the class of 1987 to present themselves for their diplomas.
Now the second name comes when Barbara hits. Mark Kimball Erickson, President, Class of '87. Nathan Whitehall Bailey, Vice President, Class of '87. Maria Esther Vibert, Secretary, Class of '87. Corey David Ireland, Treasurer, Class of '87. Christina Ordevold. Matthew Christopher Acuff. Derek William Albright. Stephen Pembroke Aldrich. Jean Ann Alford. Thomas Hackney Algie. Bradley Scott Allard. Andrew Wright Inbody. Laura Elaine White. Camille Dawn Anderson. Mark Allen Anderson. Amy Catherine Arakawa. Christopher James Bagg. Carly Anna Bailey. Michael Cole Baker. Mary Ann Costello. Carla Renee Kalin. Jeffrey Mark Walston. Susan Elizabeth Shorey. Kristen Ann Patterson. Latif Najib Ahmed. Boshe Hess Baltus. Christopher Scott Banish. Jamie Lynn Banks. Rebecca Lynn Barling. Deborah Lynn Barnes. Michael Christopher Barr. Christopher Michael Bay. Elizabeth Scott Beal. Brendan Ward Beatty. Sherry Sue Bennett. James Rick Berg. Brian Christopher Bergfalk. Valerie Lynn Berry. Christina Marie Blackshire. Catherine Mackenzie Blair. Craig Thomas Bland. Kirk Patrick Blinzler. Thomas Michael Bloyd. Lucas Antonio Bonacera. Quincy Suzanne Bose. Jerome Paul Borso. Claudia Borns. Tanya Michelle Boston. Douglas Arthur Boudreau. Lynn Ann Boudreau. Christina K. Brady. Maria Kathleen Brazel. Laura Marie Brenneman. Laura Eliza Brennan. Charles Anthony Bridge. Anthony Sean Brown. Carolyn Dawn Brown. Patrick Michael Brown. Rebecca Ann Brown. Rochelle Marie Bua. Gregory Charles Buchanan. Timothy Patrick Buckley. David Lee Buden. Brene Leanne Berger. Jennifer Lynn Berger. Heather Kim Burgess. Monroe Abel Burgess IV. Stephen Jason Burke. Kevin Arthur Burke. Jack Allen Burrows IV. Paula Lou Bynum. Thomason Jane Byram. Brian Christopher Kane. Christopher Mansell Camburn. Andrew Michael Cameron. Joyce Diane Campbell. Sean Thomas Campbell. Kimberly Ann Carballera. Emily Whiteman Carbaugh. James Edward Carl. Catherine Ann Carlson. Mauro Augusto Conero. Matthew Alexander Carolyn. Lori Ann Carpenter. Rebecca Jane Carr. Leslie Carey Chalker. Rachel Ann Charismas. David Wayne Chowens. Kay Lynn Clark. Robert John Cochran. Brad J. Kaufelt. Brent Allen Caulfield. Dorothy Melissa Comley. Julie Lynn Cook. Heather Michelle Copeland. Matthew Madison Copeland. Deborah Elizabeth Crawford. Dennis Regal Creason. Carice Lynette Kreider. Denise Louise Cricky. Patrick Glenn Chris. Elliot Lee Crow. Javier Cuadrado Gonzalez. Devon Kathleen Danberger. Robert Timothy Danneberg. Michael Bennett Darnell. John Winborn Davis. Ellen Marie Dayton. Kristen Noel Dieter. James Stewart DeFeo. Constance Ann DeFonso. Blaine Eden Degnan. Jennifer Lynn Delaney. Christopher John Dennis. Cheryl Lynn Denny. Susan Elizabeth Dexter. Julie Ann Dibble. Julie Katharina Dick. Sean Laurel Donnelly. Joyce Ann Dotson. Catherine Jane Driscoll. Anne Elizabeth Durham. Catherine Mary Dykes. Lynn Christine Eaton. John Fisher Edgar. Catherine Ann Eisen. Alicia K. Epstein. Alan Kent Epstein. Michelle Diane Erickson. Dorothy E.B. Esri. Cynthia Ione Everhart. Monica Renee Everhart. Angela Marie. Sally Elizabeth Faulkner. Where'd that come from? She didn't cross it out. Tony Elizabeth Feltman. Wendy Lai Feng. Eric Robert Firkenhoff. Jason Christopher Fernie. Kelly Elizabeth Fickle. Nancy Elizabeth Fields. Courtney Lynn Fikes. Erica Lorraine Finley. Molly Elizabeth Finnegan. David Joel Fishman. Amy Lynn Fithian. Jenny Grayson Fitzsimmons. Craig Allen Fleming. John Randall Fletcher. Christine Marie Frank. Felicia Lynn Franklin. Eric Klaus Freeberg. Mark William French. Tricia Ann Fritter. Kurt Froneberger. Holly Christina Gander. Lisa Michelle Garcia. Christopher Luke Gard.
Paul Jameson Guerin. Michael David Gauger. Amy Jean Gebhardt. Daniel Ward Gibson. Wendy Lynn Gibson. Allison Kim Gilgore. Sherry Elizabeth Gilgus. Merle Jean Goldston, Jr. Derek Boyd Goodhart. James Robert Gooley. Stephen Scott Gordon. Amy Sue Gottlieb. Joseph Neil Green. McDonald Brenton Groves. Ann Lynn Gwartney. Gerald Brian Hahn. Scott Mackey Hahn. Ann Reeser Hall. Gregory Morris Ham. Kristen Lindsay Hammond. William Ransom Hancock II. James Patrick Hansen. Susan Elizabeth Heron. Monica Nicole Harris. Robert Nauman Harsh, Jr. Brett Stephen Hartman. Brian Lynn Hawk. John Christopher Hayworth. Mikan Estelle Hayes. Susan Adele Hedrick. Tamara Lynn Heil. Jonathan Andrew Hendley. Catherine Louise Henson. Michael Allen Heron. Elizabeth Joy Hessler. Derek Robert Heil. Bradley Paul Hoback. Tana Hobson. Helen Elizabeth Hokinson. Christopher Don Holder. Julie Michelle Holtzmark. Jeffrey David Hopkins. Thomas Arthur Hodek. Diane Elizabeth Howe. Yikes. Yeah. Megan Lee Irish. Elizabeth Ann Isaac. Kimberly Ann Jacobs. Ravichander J. Raman. Christopher Francis Jaley. Stephen Allen Jenkins. Elizabeth Marie Jennings. Sally Joan Johnson. Tina Faye Johnson. Amy Lynn Johnston. Mary Jelaine Johnston. Kristen Ray Jones. Nicholas Jason Jones. Whitney Lynn Jones. Joel Timothy Joyce. Kathleen Elizabeth Judge. James William Cap III. Jennifer Sue Starr Kay. Timothy Charles Keel. Catherine June Keller. David Challenor Kennedy. Stephanie Sophia Kilteca. Jenny He Kim. John Andre Kirby. Sue Ellen Marie Kitchen. Catherine Rose Klein. Heather Ann Kolb. Lisa Sue Korf. Robert Daniel Cry. Jason Wayne Kraut. Laura Marie Landis. Julia Hodges Langworthy. Michaela Ann Lavin. Craig Mark Lee. Louis Dean Lemansky. Robin Amy Levine. Carolyn Elizabeth Leonard. Nicole Ann Link. Tara Elizabeth Lewis. Kristen Ann Linhart. J. Edward Linney. Elon Robert Lipschitz. Sally Ann Locke. Dawn Jennifer Launderholm. Emma Longan. Patrick Gerald Mayer. Scott Joseph Maislich. Ryan Gregory Manicky. Carrie Kathleen Martin. Matthew Christian Martin. Anne Elizabeth Mason. Brian Martin Mathis. John Joseph May. William Francis May. Stephen Joseph Mayer. Corrigan Lee McBride. David Allen McCall. Bruce Colt McClelland. Kelly Lorraine McClenahan. Margaret Ann McEachin. Scott Michael McConaughey. Alan Burr Harrison McGee V. Amy Elizabeth McHenry. John Matthew McMillan. Want me to go ahead? Matthew Lee Meads. John Douglas Mickle. Amy Elizabeth Mertz. They're out of order. Michelle Krista Miller. Todd Spencer Miller. Trevor Francis Miller. Corey Allen Minturn. James Moyer Mitchell. Kylene Brooks Mitchell. Eden Elizabeth Monroe. Charles Farrell Moore. You want me to go now? Yeah. Derek Edward Moore. Kelly Lynn Moore. Richard Allen Moore II. Mark Umberto Moriano. Susan Faye Moretsky. James Lindsay Morris. Robert Jean Morris. Michael Wilson Morton, Jr. Richard Franklin Mosley, Jr. Richard Lee Muller. John Michael Mussman. Christopher Blake Myers. Kelly Ann Nawroth. Stephen Michael Neptune. Patrick Kyle Neuenfeld. Mary Jo Denise Newton. Brian Christopher Nichols. Stephen Andrew Neiswanger. Craig Robert Newatsky. Jeremiah Thomas O'Connor III. John Edward Olson. Kelly Marie O'Malley. Joshua Todd Omer. Christopher Michael O'Neill. Jeffrey Keith Annan. Kristen Judith Oppenheimer. Diana Carol Ott. Charles Kelly Paddock. Angela Chen E. Pai. Samantha Elaine Palazzola. Peggy Ann Pankratz. Amy Jennifer Parker. Andrew Charles Patton.
Christina Lynn Paul. Andrew Ross Payne. Heather Lynn Pierce. Jessica Foster Peel. Nicole Lynn Penner. Sydney Alicia Penner. Brian Keith Perdue. Albert Michael Perez. Kent Trizer Perry, Jr. Heidi Marie Peter. Eric Cameron Peters. Shauna Michelle Pettit. Christopher Ward Petty. Bruce Elliott Pfeiffer. Teresa Leigh Pham. Sophie Hélène Safo-Pilin. Sarah Elliott Pitts. Amy Elizabeth Polson. Jeffrey Harper Pope. Maria Amanda Porras. Jeffrey David Porter. Brian Carl Potts. Alan Matthew Preston. Lori Ann Preboth. Jonathan Thomas Price. Warren Hamilton Prince. Dana Michelle Pruitt. Nancy Jill Pugsley. Jennifer Lynn Quist. Brian Lewis Reagan. Todd Ross Ray. Amy Suzanne Reese. Matthew Clark Reese. Alyssa Beth Reed. Cheryl Ann Reeves. Douglas Lyon Rayfelt. Sharon Lynn Reed. Julie Christine Reimer. Jason Sean Ruport. Christian Kerrigan Rice. Helen Allison Rich. Isabel Ann Richard. Karine Louise Richard. Kimberly Kilburn Ricker. Sean Patrick Riley. David Arthur Rissmiller, Jr. Diane Elizabeth Roberts. Carrie Lynn Robertson. Mary Elizabeth Robertson. John Jason Robinson. Kristen Ann Rodney. Brandy Ann Rodriguez. Matthew Lee Rogers. Shannon Elizabeth Rogers. Elizabeth Ann Rosenberg. James Anthony Roth. Jason Scott Raudebush. Michael David Roselle. Laura K. Rosen. Barry Thomas Rucker. Mark James Rudolph. Laura Ann Russell. Jeffrey Scott Sakovich. Aaron Sajovic. Christopher Hampton Sanders. Daniel Allen Sanders. Jennifer Louise Sanks. Lisa Jo Sano. Kathy Aline Schomburg. Bradley Aaron Schiffman. Andrew William Schmidt. David Jeffrey Schmitz. Greg Joseph Schufs. Gregory Hayden Scott. Robert Sean Scott. Stephen Patrick Scott. David Victor Selders III. Christy Lynn Schaefer. Grant Edward Shepard. Kurt Parker Schirling. Laura Elizabeth Silden. Leonard Singer, Jr. Helen Catherine Singleton. Lori Catherine Singleton. Heidi Sloan. John Peter Iuni Smith. Christina Lynn Smith. Sarah Todd Smith. Robert Scott Snare. Stephanie Lee Snyder. Peter Michael Spear. Donna Jean Spohn. Michael Jason Spees. Patricia Audrey Steckler. Dana Cherie Steele. Jason Robert Stein. Stacy Christine Stewart. Jennifer Marie Stobie. Pamela Diane Stone. Jennifer Ray Strauss. Amy Lawrence Stuber. Michael Thomas Sir. Robert Michael Swan. Alice Marie Tazarek. Jason Wesley Taylor. Robert Christopher Taylor. Craig Lewis Templeton. William Raymond Theobald. Catherine Denise Thoreau. Brian Charles Thomas. James Patrick Tighe. John Alden Tickwart. Gregory Stephen Trainer. Daniel Mark Trantham. Daryl Kirk Uffelman. Jessica Catherine Ullman. John Crawford Vandenberg. Russell Lester Vanderpool. Marcia Ann Vibert. David Edgar Voisey. Brett Lawrence Villeman. Eric Edward Wall. Joseph Lewis Wall. Laura Lee Waldo. Gregory Charles Wallace. Kimberly Ann Wallace. Michael David Wallace. Julie Ann Watkins. Catherine Melody Weber. Linda Ann Weisenborn. Brett Allen Weisler. Edward Mark Wells. Andrea Lynn Welsh. Regina Dawn Wiles. Minda Corinne Whitaker. Sarah Witcher. Richard James White. Emily Margaret Wilkes. Gregory Allen Wimpy. Gregory Bruce Winju. Sarah Ann Wittig. Carol Suzanne Wood. Eric Joseph Woithel. Kristen Suann Wright. Stephanie Lynn Wright. Kevin Dwayne Yarber. Eva Marie Yearout. Kimberly K. Young. Christine Ann Zambry. Matthew Eldon Zeller. Mark David Zinn.
Will the class of 1987 please stand? I do hereby declare you graduates of Shawnee Mission East High School. You may move your tassel from right to left. Will everyone please rise for the benediction, which will be given by Susan Shorey. Susan has been a member of the National Honor Society and has been on the honor roll for 3 years. She has been active in both the Pep Club and the International Club. Next fall, Susan will attend Baylor University.
May we pray. Dear God, we thank you for gathering us all here tonight in a time of great joy. You have bestowed many blessings upon each individual here. Through the years, you have allowed us to grow physically, mentally, and spiritually to prepare us for our lives after high school. Wherever our lives lead us, we pray for your continual guidance and source of support. Amen.
Will you please remain standing for the school song? Leading us will be the Shawnee Mission East Chamber Singers, members of the class of 1987. The school song is printed on the inside back of your program. We would ask that members of the audience remain off the field until the recessional has been completed. Go.